Anthony took my keys. He said, "I am not allowed to drive. I have a medical problem." Those words broke everything open. My name is Kiera. I am 26 years old. One Tuesday afternoon, I was walking on the side of a busy road. Cars were going 60 miles per hour right next to me. Dust and small rocks were flying everywhere. My 2-year-old son Noah was strapped to my chest. My legs were shaking, but I kept walking. I had to keep walking. Suddenly, a big truck stopped hard on the gravel ahead of me. I knew that truck. My father jumped out. He is the police chief in our town. But right then he didn't look like a tough officer. He looked like a scared parent. "Kiera," he shouted, running toward me. He grabbed my shoulders. "What are you doing? Where is your car?" I was too tired to lie. I looked him in the eyes and whispered the truth. "Anthony took my keys, Dad. He says I am not allowed to leave the house." My father's face went pale. Then it went dark. He understood. This was not a car problem. This was a trap. I sat in the passenger seat of my father's truck. The air conditioning was cold and dry on my face. Noah was asleep in my lap. He felt heavy and warm and safe. But I was shaking. My hands were trembling so badly that I had to hold them together between my knees just to keep them still. My father didn't start the engine right away. He just looked at me. He looked at my dusty shoes. He looked at the sunburn on my arms. He noticed the way I flinched when he reached for his water bottle. "Kiera," he said softly, "talk to me." I wanted to tell him everything, but I didn't know where to begin. Because here is the truth, Anthony never hit me. He never screamed at me. If he had hit me, I would have left sooner. If he had screamed, I would have known it was abuse. But Anthony was smart. He was quiet. And his mother Susan was even smarter. It happened so slowly. Like the temperature in a room dropping 1 degree at a time. You don't notice you're freezing until your teeth are chattering. It started when I was pregnant with Noah. I was tired all the time. My feet were swollen. I was working part-time at a library, a job I loved. I loved the smell of the books. I loved the people who came in every day. It was my own money. My own world. One evening, Anthony came home with food. He set the table. He lit a candle. He looked so caring. "Babe," he said, pouring me a glass of water. "I've been thinking. You look so tired. The doctor said your blood pressure is high. My mom and I talked. We think you should quit the library. Just until the baby comes. You need to rest." "But I like the library," I said. "And I like having my own money." "We don't need the money," he said. "I got a raise. And Mom said she will come over more to help. Please, Kiera. Do it for the baby. Do it for the baby." So I quit. I thought I was being a good mother. I thought I was lucky to have a husband who cared so much. Then Susan started coming over. First once a week. Then 3 times a week. Then every single day. She didn't knock. She had a key. Anthony had given it to her without asking me. I gave Mom a key for emergencies. He told me one morning while brushing his teeth. "In case you go into labor while I'm at work." It made sense. Everything they did always made sense. But then Susan started changing things. I would walk into the kitchen and find my spices moved around. I would find my laundry folded but put in the wrong drawers. "I'm just helping," she would say with a tight smile. "You're so big now, Kiera. You shouldn't be bending down." After Noah was born, things got harder. I wasn't sleeping. I was emotional. I was learning how to be a mother. One afternoon, about 3 months after Noah arrived, I couldn't find my debit card. I called Anthony at work, panicking. "Anthony, I can't find my card. I need to buy diapers." "Oh," he said, calm as ever. "I have it." "You have it? Why?" "I noticed you were spending a lot on random things. You're stressed. You're not sleeping. Mom said packages were arriving every day. I think it's better if I handle the money for a while. Just until things settle down." I felt a flash of anger. "I'm not crazy, Anthony. I just bought baby clothes." "I know, babe. But we need to save for Noah's future. If you need anything, just ask me or ask Mom. She can pick it up for you." I argued. I cried. He didn't move. He just kept saying he was doing it for me. He made me feel guilty for wanting control of my own money. He made me feel like a child throwing a tantrum. So I stopped asking. Then came the car. I had a Honda CR-V. I bought it before we were married. It was mine. It was my freedom. 6 months ago I got a flat tire. Anthony came and changed it. But the next morning my keys were gone. Where are my keys? The car needs work, he said. The axle looks damaged. It's not safe. Okay. When will it be fixed? I'm waiting on parts. A week passed. Then a month. Then 3 months. Every time I asked, there was a new reason. The mechanic was busy. The part was delayed. It was too expensive right now. Why do you need to drive anyway? Susan asked me one day while she was folding my underwear in my bedroom. You have everything here. Anthony brings the groceries. I bring the diapers. Where do you need to go? I just want to leave the house, I said. That sounds like postpartum depression, she said, shaking her head. Anthony says you've been acting erratic. Erratic. That was their favorite word. If I cried because I was lonely, erratic. If I got angry because Susan threw away my favorite shirt, erratic. If I wanted to see my friends, erratic. My friends stopped calling. Anthony told them I was overwhelmed and needed space. He said they didn't understand what it was like to be a mother. He said they were jealous of my life. He said they would bring me down. So I stopped texting them back. Eventually my phone went quiet. The last thing was the phone itself. 2 weeks ago, Anthony put a tracking app on it. It's for safety, he said. In case you get lost walking with the stroller. But it wasn't just tracking. He could read my texts. He could see my search history. I stopped looking up divorce lawyers. I stopped looking up emotional abuse. I was scared he would see it. I was trapped inside a beautiful house with a full fridge and a husband who said he loved me. But I was dying inside. I was a ghost in my own life. Sitting in my father's truck looking out the window, I finally saw how small my world had become. Anthony didn't hit me. He just took away my job, my money, my car, my friends, and my privacy. He took away my voice. He made me believe I was sick. He made me believe I was weak. He made me believe I could not survive without him. But that afternoon when I asked for the keys to go to the park and he laughed and put them in his pocket, something inside me snapped. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I waited until he went to the bathroom. I strapped Noah to my chest. I opened the front door. And I started walking. I walked 5 miles before my father found me. It wasn't one big fight, Dad. I whispered, staring at my hands. It was 1,000 small things. They took pieces of me until there was nothing left. My father sat in silence for a long time. The only sounds were the engine humming and Noah breathing softly. Dad has been a police officer for 30 years. He has seen accidents, crimes, and violence. He is a man who likes clear problems with clear answers. But this was messy. This was family. He turned toward me. The seat creaked. Kiera, he said quietly, I need to ask you some questions. Be completely honest. Don't protect him. Don't think about his feelings. Just answer me. I nodded. Does he control your money? Yes. I don't have a card. I don't have cash. If I need milk, I have to ask him or Susan. Dad's jaw tightened. Does he monitor your phone? Your messages? Yes. He knows my passwords. He checks my texts every night. He calls it transparency. Does he stop you from leaving the house? He says my car is broken. But I saw him driving it last week. He told me I imagined it. He said I'm medically unfit to drive because of my anxiety. Who diagnosed you with anxiety? Dad asked sharply. He did. And Susan. They said I'm unstable. Dad hit the steering wheel hard. Noah stirred but didn't wake up. Kiera, Dad said. In my work we have a name for this. When someone cuts off your money, isolates you from your family and friends, watches your every move, and makes you think you're going crazy. That is not love. That is a siege. The word hung in the air. Siege. Like a castle surrounded by enemies, starved until it gives up. They cut the lines, Dad said. They controlled your movement. They took your car. They took your money. This wasn't help, Kiera. It was a trap. I thought I was going crazy, Dad, I said. I really did. You're not crazy, he said firmly. You're exhausted. You're worn down. There is a difference. He put the truck in gear. We're not going to my house yet. My stomach dropped. Where are we going? We're going back. Panic shot through me. No, Dad. Please. Anthony will be so angry. Susan is there. They'll talk me out of it. They always talk me out of it. They are not taking my grandson, Dad said. His voice was cold steel. And they are not talking you out of anything. He turned the truck around. We were heading back toward the house. I need you to be brave for 1 hour, Kiera. We are going there to get your things. Your documents. The diaper bag. And your keys. He won't give them to me. He'll give them to me, Dad said. Walking up that driveway felt like walking into a trap. My legs were heavy. I held Noah so tight he made a small sound in his sleep. Dad walked ahead of me. Not like a guest. Like someone serving a warrant. The front door opened before we reached the steps. Anthony was standing there in a polo shirt and khaki shorts. He looked calm. Polished. Slightly annoyed. The way a parent looks at a misbehaving child. Susan stood behind him, holding a glass of wine. It was 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Kiera, Anthony sighed, shaking his head. We were so worried. I was about to call the police. I brought the police, Dad said. He stepped onto the porch. No smile. No handshake. Chief, Anthony said, using the title with just a hint of disrespect. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Kiera's having a rough day. It's the hormones again. We're trying to get her back on her medication. I'm not on medication, I said from behind Dad. My voice was small, but I said it. See, Susan said, taking a sip of wine. Denial. It's part of the condition. Frank, would you like some iced tea? We just want to calm everyone down. I don't want tea, Susan, Dad said. I want Kiera's keys. The porch went very still. Anthony laughed nervously. Her keys? Frank, look, the car isn't safe. I'm protecting her. The axle. Where is the car? Dad asked, looking around. I don't see her Honda. It's at the shop. Jerry's auto down on Main. Really? Dad said. Because I drove past Jerry's on the way here. The lot was empty. Anthony paused. He licked his lips. Maybe he moved it to the back. Look, this is a private marriage matter. She's an adult, Dad cut in. She wants to leave. She needs her keys. If the car is at the shop, show me the receipt. Give her the claim ticket. Give her the house keys so she can come and go freely. She can't handle that responsibility right now, Susan said, her voice sweet as syrup. Frank, look at her. She's dirty. She's sweaty. She walked on a highway with a baby. Does that look like someone making good decisions? We took the keys for her own safety. I walked on the highway because I had no choice. My voice surprised even me. You trapped me here. You tracked my phone. You took my money. Anthony stepped forward, reaching for my arm. Kiera, stop yelling. You're scaring Noah. Give me the baby. Dad's arm shot out between us like a wall. Don't touch her, Dad said. His voice dropped low and flat, the voice he uses when a suspect is about to run. This is my house, Anthony said, his face turning red. That is my son. You can't come here and dictate. What I'm hearing, Dad said calmly, is coercive control. Unlawful restraint. Where are her keys, Anthony? I don't know where they are. She probably lost them. She loses everything. Check your pockets, Dad said. Excuse me. Check your pockets. This is harassment, Anthony snapped. Kiera, Dad said, not taking his eyes off Anthony. Go inside. Pack a bag. Enough for 1 week. Clothes for you and Noah. And get your documents, birth certificates, social security cards, passport. Susan keeps them in the safe, I said quietly. Dad looked at Susan. Open the safe. I forgot the combination, she said, looking at her nails. Dad pulled out his phone. Then I'll call a unit. 2 officers here in 10 minutes to supervise. And if you refuse to hand over her identification documents, that's theft. We can file a report right here on your porch. Your neighbors will love seeing the police lights. Susan's smile cracked. She cared about appearances more than anything. The thought of police cars in her driveway, in front of all the neighbors, terrified her. Fine, she hissed. You're being so dramatic, Frank. She turned and walked inside. Go with her, Dad told me. Get your things. I'll stay with Anthony. I stepped past Anthony. He stared at me with eyes full of hate. For the first time, the mask slipped completely. He didn't look like a loving husband. He looked like someone who had lost control of something he thought he owned. You'll regret this, he whispered as I passed. You'll be back. You can't make it out there. I didn't answer. I walked inside. The house smelled like lavender and bleach. It smelled like the place where I had slowly disappeared. I went to the bedroom. I grabbed a duffel bag. I threw in Noah's diapers, wipes, and his favorite stuffed bear. I threw in jeans, t-shirts, underwear. I didn't fold anything. I just shoved it all in. I went to the study. Susan was opening the safe. She threw my passport and Noah's birth certificate onto the desk. Ungrateful, she muttered. We gave you a beautiful life and you throw it away. I grabbed the papers. I didn't want a beautiful life, I said to her back. I wanted my life. I ran to the front door. Dad was still standing there like a wall between Anthony and the world. I got them, I said. Let's go. But Anthony moved. He stepped in front of the stairs and blocked the path to the truck. Kiera can leave, he said. His voice was shaking now. But she is not taking my son. I do not give permission for him to leave this property. He looked straight at me. Put him down, Kiera. Give him to my mother. You can go play victim at your dad's house, but Noah stays here. I held Noah tighter. He was waking up now, looking around with sleepy eyes. No, I said. Anthony stepped forward, reaching for Noah. Dad moved fast. He stepped directly in front of Anthony, close but not touching. Back off, Dad said. That wasn't a request. This is kidnapping. Susan shrieked from the doorway, holding up her phone. I'm recording this. You're taking my grandson. She is mentally unstable, Anthony said, pointing at my father. If you let her take him, I'll sue you. I'll have your badge. I'll tell the court you helped kidnap my child. The legal threats hit me hard. Anthony always sounded so sure, so confident about the law. He always made me feel like I was breaking rules I didn't even understand. Dad, I whispered. Can I take him? Is it legal? Dad kept his eyes on Anthony. Are you divorced, Anthony? What? No. Is there a custody order signed by a judge? No, but is there any court order restricting her access to her child? She's unfit. That's not what I asked, Dad said sharply. Is there a signed court order? No, Anthony said loudly. Then both parents have equal rights, Dad said calmly. It is not kidnapping for a mother to take her child. There is no legal basis for you to stop her. Look at this house, Anthony laughed. It's perfect. She's the danger. Dad lowered his voice. It became very quiet and very serious. Let's talk about danger, Anthony. Let's talk about the law. He held up one finger. Withholding her keys to stop her from leaving, that is unlawful restraint. A second finger. Blocking her from walking out that door, that is false imprisonment. A third finger. You lied to a police officer about where her car is. That is obstruction of justice. He stepped closer to Anthony. And if you put one hand on her to take that child from her arms, I will arrest you for domestic assault right here on your front lawn. Anthony's face went white. His confidence cracked. He looked at Susan. She had lowered her phone. She looked scared. They were bullies. And bullies only understand strength. They had used words and rules to trap me. They didn't realize my father knew those rules better than they ever would. You're bluffing, Anthony whispered. But his voice was weak. Touch her, Dad said. See what happens. Anthony looked at his hands. He looked at me. Then he stepped aside. Just one small step to the left. But it was a surrender. Fine, he said. Go. But this isn't over. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take everything. You'll be begging in a week, Kiera. You'll crawl back to me. Walk now, Dad said to me quietly. Don't listen. I walked down the steps. I walked past Anthony. I could smell his cologne. It used to smell like safety. Now it smelled like a cage. I walked to the truck. I put Noah in his car seat. My hands were shaking so badly it took me 3 tries to click the buckle. Mama, Noah said. It's okay, baby, I said. We're going for a ride. Dad backed out of the driveway. He didn't look at Anthony. He didn't look at Susan. He just drove. I looked in the side mirror. Anthony was standing in the driveway watching us go. He looked small. He looked angry. And he kept getting smaller and smaller as we drove away. "Dad," I said, letting out a long breath. "Thank you." He squeezed my hand. "We're not done yet," he said. "Getting out is the first step. Staying out is the hard part. But you have proof now." "Proof?" I asked. "I just grabbed some clothes. Check the side pocket of your bag," he said. I looked down. There was a thick blue folder sticking out of the duffel bag. I hadn't put it there. "I saw it on the desk while Susan was yelling at you," Dad said. I grabbed it. It looked like financial records. I opened the folder. My eyes went wide. It wasn't just paperwork. It was everything. Bank transfers from my savings account to Susan's account. Credit cards opened in my name that I never signed for. And printed emails between Anthony and Susan, emails about how to manage me. Email from Susan: "Move the trust fund money before she notices. Tell her the bank made an error." Email from Anthony: "I'll disable her car next week. She's asking too many questions." I gasped. "Dad, look at this." "I told you," he said, eyes on the road. "They weren't protecting you. They were robbing you." A cold, heavy feeling settled in my stomach. It replaced the fear. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a witness. And I was holding the evidence in my hands. We pulled up to the house I grew up in. Small, a little worn, with peeling blue paint and a porch that leaned slightly. It wasn't a magazine cover. But as soon as the engine stopped, I felt my lungs open up fully for the first time in years. It smelled like pine needles and old rain. Smelled like safety. "You're home," Dad said. Inside, the house was exactly as I remembered. The same brown carpet. The same old recliner with duct tape on the armrest. Newspapers on the table. Coffee cups in the sink. In Anthony's house, a coffee cup in the sink was evidence of my failure. Here it was just a cup. Dad pointed to the kitchen table. "Sit. I'm making you a sandwich." "I'm not hungry," I said automatically. That was my reflex. Deny your needs. Be small. Be easy. "I didn't ask if you were hungry," Dad said, opening the fridge. "Turkey or ham?" "Turkey," I whispered. I sat at the wooden table. The blue folder sat in the middle like a bomb. For 2 years I had told myself I was the problem. I was forgetful. I was bad with money. I was too emotional. Anthony was the responsible one, carrying the weight of the bills and the decisions so I could just be a mother. But looking at that folder, something hard and cold rose in my chest. I wasn't just a mother. I was a woman who used to manage a library budget. I got straight A's in college. I lived on my own for 3 years before I ever met Anthony. I wasn't stupid. I had been made to feel stupid. Dad set a plate in front of me. A turkey sandwich cut into triangles just like he used to make when I was 10 years old. I took a bite and started reading. If you are listening right now and you feel small, if you have to ask permission to spend your own money, if you have to explain why you took 20 minutes to buy milk, if your partner tracks your phone for your safety, you are not crazy. You are not ungrateful. You are being erased. They will tell you that you can't survive without them. That the world is too scary, too hard, too expensive. They are lying. Yes, rent is expensive. Being a single parent is exhausting. The world is hard. But I would rather work 3 jobs and sleep on a mattress on the floor than ever hand my keys to someone else again. I would rather be tired and free than rested and owned. You don't owe them your loyalty. You don't owe them your silence. You owe yourself the courage to walk out that door. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And have you ever had to fight your way out of someone else's idea of protection? I want to hear your story, because telling it is the very